Welcome to the Living Your Greatness podcast. I am your host, Ben Mumme. The purpose of the podcast is to inspire millions of people across the world to achieve greatness and enhance their overall personal well-being. Living Your Greatness is becoming the go-to resource that CEOs, elite athletes, professional coaches, and entrepreneurs rely on to upgrade themselves. The podcast helps you master the best of what other people have already figured out. So I gladly invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy tuning in to today's episode. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Living Your Greatness. This is your host, Ben Mumme. In each solo episode, you will receive valuable knowledge, wisdom, and life lessons. The goal is to equip you with mindset strategies, tactics, and tools to help you live a great life. So thank you for being here. I desire to become one of your greatest mentors. The topic that we will discuss in today's solo episode is the science behind value-based goal setting. It's that time of year again. Most of us are now starting to reflect on New Year's resolutions and think of tips and tricks for better goal setting. But despite the wealth of information on goal setting techniques, most new resolutions fail by mid-March. So how do we shift this mindset? Well, what about if we base our New Year's resolutions not only on what we want, but why we want it? In other words, what if we let go of our perception of societal expectations and make New Year's resolutions based on what really makes us tick and our values? Research actually suggests that doing so will not only make our resolutions more successful, but it will also boost our health and well-being. So before we get started, let's kind of think here, what are values? So values are concepts that orientate a person to what is personally meaningful and important to them. They affect our attitudes, preferences, over behaviors, and help us to determine right from wrong and persevere during hardship. So some examples of values can include perseverance, authenticity, compassion, individuality, and courage. And the list can keep going on. So now I want to shift this to the purpose, the cornerstone of goal setting. Science has something interesting to say about values and successful goal setting. According to recent research, value-based goals are not only more successful than those created to meet an extrinsic societal expectation, but they're also healthier. We attach meaning and significance to pursuing value-based goals, which gives us our lives a sense of purpose. Increasing the feeling of purpose in your life through activities like value-based goal setting can increase your resilience to stress, promote healthy behaviors, and improve mood and overall well-being. In other words, linking a resolution to a value connects it with purpose. It makes it more likely to change the way your brain is wired and will have a sustainable and consistent effects on your behavior. So this brings us to ask, how do we set value-based goals? So I want to state again, value-based goals are more likely to give our lives purpose and are successful because they're part of our core internal system that guides our behavior, our beliefs, and our attitudes. So this makes us question, how do we set value-based goals? Well, it's important to know that a value-based goal arises from a desire to match our behavior to our values. For example, someone who values connectedness might set a goal to schedule at least one weekly friend date, while someone who values positivity might vow to start every morning with a gratitude practice. A value-based goal for someone who values individuality might be to start their own business within the next 8 months. So now that we have a clear understanding of how to set value-based goals, it's also important to know how to create a value-based goal. And this is a little different. So I'm going to provide some tips and kind of tricks. So number one, catalog your values. The first step to creating a value-based goal is to clarify your values. A well-known life coach and leadership expert, Scott Jeffrey, states that the secret to this task is to go into it with a beginner's mind. He suggests 3 methods to clarify your values. So the first part of the method is to consider peak experiences. So think back to a meaningful moment in your life. Think about the elements of the situation that made it meaningful. These elements will likely represent some of your core values. The second part of your method is to identify suppressed values. I want you to take the opposite approach and consider a situation when you were unusually unhappy, frustrated, or even upset. Identify what you were feeling during this time and flip that feeling around. This will reveal a suppressed value or a low or absent value from your life. The third and final part of the method is to establish a code of conduct. What makes you tick? What do you acquire just above the basic human needs to experience fulfillment? Is it health? Is it creativity? Or is it a sense of excitement and adventure? So now that you have thought of some of these questions, I want you to actually use this really valuable writing prompt from Scott Jeffrey. His prompt is, what are the personal values you must honor or a part of you withers? So that is a very powerful question. I really want you to take the time to answer that and write it down. The second tip that I want to share with you is link your values to your goals. So once you define your list of personal values, pick one, set a goal related to this value, and then identify the specific area of your life your goal will improve and how you will measure progress. Keep it realistic in light of your available resources in terms of time, resources, money. And finally, specify a time frame for your goal. You can take it into a few steps further and identify potential barriers to this goal and how you will overcome these barriers. But most importantly, journal or meditate on how this goal will bring purpose to your life. So now that we have talked about these tips and tricks, I want you to think about how you will live your why. Michael J. Fox once said, "I believe a purpose is something for which one is responsible. It's not just divinely assigned." Now, that is a very powerful quote to think about because value-based goal setting infuses your day-to-day activities and behavior with your why, or the things that make you tick. Positive health benefits aside, nothing is more motivating and empowering than fueling your goals with your why. And when you find your why, you need to embrace it, you need to live it, and you need to be it. So I want to take this last moment now to really thank you for being here. I hope this solo episode today has added some value or even some perspective to your life. And if you enjoyed listening to my podcast, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button. By doing so, it will give you unlimited access to all podcast episodes to come. Now, before signing off, I really want to end off this podcast by wishing you to keep living your greatness. Have a wonderful day. Much love, Ben. Thank you for listening to the Living Your Greatness podcast. If this show has added some value, don't be shy to subscribe, leave a rating, and make a review.